We are virgins no longer.
So a little fun fact about Greece.
In a boat, we're Americans. We're going to spend money. And at the risk of sounding morbid,
The oldest travel influencers on the podcast scene at some point here. So Chuck and I are happy to take your calls. Well, if I had a secretary, we're separate but equal. Someone has to like me best. Enough money and time, you can do anything you want in this world.
the man, the myth, and legend.
I got a Volvo.
Not a political statement.
Travel like something is potentially going wrong. Extra underwear. You can't wear shorts everywhere.
Chuck decides to move to France.
Well, first of all, let's just say this. Everybody get your passports. Who's coming? I'll fight you.
I'm not trying to be funny. They speak the language.
Today's my last day. We're just going to shut down right here.
We spent 4 days of the cruise in our cabins dying.
And if you're sick, don't travel. Ever handsome, ever friendly, ever wonderful. It's not that I don't like children.
She's very picky about everything but her men.
I do believe I proclaimed for the spirit that day. I don't wear pajamas.
And last week on Life in the Baggage Claim.
Good day, folks. Welcome to Life in the Baggage Claim. We're here today with another fun episode. I'm your co-host, Jim Hauck, Dallas, Texas, a cruise planner and owner of JP Hauck Adventures. And with me is, I punted over,
Longerbeam, cruise planner in near Charlottesville, Virginia, walkabout travel. Jim, how are you today, my friend?
I'm good. We have a special guest here today. People probably like, well, they didn't introduce her yet, but we are going to do that. Hailing from the great country of Ireland is our guest today, Ruth O'Meara. Welcome, Ruth.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Absolutely. So Ruth has a travel business, and she is going to talk to us a little about her experiences in Ireland with travel. She is going to also talk a little bit about sort of, as she calls it, de-stressing the Irish way. I can only imagine that probably involves a pub or something at some point, right? I think that just goes to the territory. We're going to let Ruth talk to us a little bit about her journey and her travel business, her wellness business. She loves to hike and things like that. So she's done some really cool, experiential travel, as I would call it, where you really get down into the nuts and bolts. And I think you'd really find her to be interesting. I enjoyed our pre-interview. I'm looking forward to this time today. So with that, Ruth, let's let you go ahead and talk, introduce yourself and talk about what you're about, what you're into.
Sure, yeah. Thanks for the introduction. So yeah, my name's Ruth. I'm from Ireland. I'm from the Midlands in Ireland, and I have a tour business called Leafy Green Tours. So we arrange bespoke light hiking tours of Ireland, small groups usually, all around kind of the Midlands, the West Coast, and we usually blend, they're all tailor-made, but like walking tours with wellness activities. So funny when you mentioned the Irish pub there, I don't know if you've heard what our new Irish pub is. That's exploded in Ireland in the last, I suppose, 4 or 5 years. We have over 132 outdoor saunas. So that's now being called the new Irish pub. The hot cold sauna, hot cold therapy is huge. It's great for mental health, addiction recovery, wellness. There's lots of studies have been shown on the brain how it can be better than certain drugs, the hot cold therapy. So it's used a lot for addiction recovery, but it's exploded all over Ireland. I was at one myself there, just 10 minutes from my house, at the weekend on Sunday. So yeah, they're everywhere. They're actually, some of the companies are looking to expand to the US, would you believe, from Ireland. River, lakes, cold plunges. My favorite ones are by the sea, so you can plunge into the wild Atlantic, back into the hot sauna that's over 200 degrees Celsius, in and out. So yeah, that's me. I worked in international sales for almost 10 years, so I would have traveled the world, different companies promoting Ireland for some of those years as a premium destination to come and learn English and study. And then 2020, I pivoted into tourism. I was big into hiking and surfing, so I got all my qualifications, started freelance guiding, got my own tourism vehicle, set up my own tourism company. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but it's actually really fun to have gone from, bouncing around the world myself to coming back and appreciating Ireland and the greenery and everything a lot more. That I think when I was, just after college, a bit younger, I kind of wanted to get out and see everything. And then you kind of get a bit more grounded, want to be home, want to be in the one time zone a little bit more, and then enjoying what we have in our surroundings. So I think that's one of the blessings for all of us of the past 5 years with having to stay closer to home. You kind of start to appreciate your surroundings more. And it's interesting within Ireland, it's gone from I suppose there's that kind of real desire of getting to do the things in your bucket list the last few years, combined with appreciating your own surroundings as well. So I don't know if you guys have found that in the US, but I kind of have enjoyed that. You mightn't travel as much, but you really appreciate and value what you do when you do, and then you're kind of appreciating noticing what's in your local community and more because it's so needed. And I think I've heard you guys speak about that before, kind of community and connection and small businesses and the importance of all of that.
Yeah, we just recently, I think, opened an outdoor wellness kind of center here that has hot tubs and cold tubs and a big facility. I think one of the biggest outdoor hot tubs in Texas or maybe even the US. I haven't gotten up there yet, but friends have gone. And I think there's something about this whole outdoor wellness that's
Yeah,
growing. Because I think, if you go to some spas, and we know this from cruise ships and other things, the spas, the saunas, they get smelly. They don't always feel as fresh as they could.
yeah,
It's inside, it's heat and steam, it's not perfect, but outside there's just like I have a hot tub on my deck. Personally, this is my favorite time of year because
nice.
the temperatures are dropping, but I can go sit out there. It's 101, 102 degrees, and I can watch the stars and I can take it in and relax. There's something about that cold and heat, right? That really is like it does something to your mind. It really helps you focus and clear up. So I call it my Zen time when I go out there,
Yeah,
chance to clear up my night.
absolutely.
Virginia is known for its hot springs. We have natural hot springs all over Virginia because we have
Cool.
limestone caves and all that. There are a bunch of those. They've been here for forever because they're natural. But we're known for those. But yeah, we do a reverse thing every February. My son and I do the polar plunge. So in February we jump in the Atlantic Ocean for as charity. We do for Special Olympics, and then we immediately go to the sauna. So we do it backwards.
Sorry, what's the polar plunge? Are you
So it's
into
it's
ice?
we well no so 5,000 stupid people jump into the Atlantic Ocean when it's so last year was fairly warm. The year before was brutal.
People in Ireland do it all the time.
So 2 years ago the water temperature was 42 and the wind chill was 32, and we jumped in and swam and then got out, and then we run back to the hotel and get in the sauna. We kind of do it backwards, but yeah, then you feel invigorated. You feel like you can
Nice.
run a marathon.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what that is in Celsius. 42. Yeah.
Go ahead, I'll do the conversion for you. I can't do it either. Let's see.
Yeah, like the sea dipping has become huge in Ireland. A lot of people do it every day now, all year round. But the saunas have been a huge help, when you can have that kind of recovery. But going in and out is supposed to be hugely beneficial. So, and obviously you're away from technology. You can't have a phone. So even having that time, that hour can be
That's
so
nice. Yeah.
for
Okay,
people.
so the water was 5.5 Celsius
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
and the air was 0.
Yeah. That's like Ireland in December or January. Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty great.
I think that's you touched on an interesting point there. The whole idea of being able to unplug is getting harder and harder, right?
Yeah.
We watch as technology has become available to us everywhere we go all the time.
Yeah.
That has a good and a bad, right? You can be reached anytime, but that means you can be reached anytime. I remember when I first started traveling and cruising specifically, I loved the fact I could get on the ship, put my phone in the safe and leave it there and never have to touch it again. And now you have to bring your phone because everything's on your phone while you're looking for schedules and plans. And I feel like it doesn't, even when I used to go to Burning Man, same thing. You'd go out to the desert. When you got far enough away from the main highway, the signal is dead. There's no more cell tower service, right? So you're disconnected. You can shut things off. It's one less, you don't wear a watch. You didn't wear a phone, none of those things with you. It does really give you a chance to unwind. And I think that's a thing a lot of folks don't do in their journeys, right? They don't find time to say, I don't need to be on my phone. I don't need to be checking TikToks and Facebooks and emails and all that, right? So that's a good point. I think there's a lesson to be learned for a lot of our listeners specifically, right? Who could just sit down and say, I'm done for the day, put this stuff away and then move forward, right?
There's nothing that makes me sadder than when I go on vacation and I see a bunch of people and I'm not talking about like when you're on a cruise and you're booking dinner. I'm not talking about that, but just in their phones and there's things going on around and it's like, put it down. I mean, you're right. We live with it all the time. It would be nice to, put it down.
Yeah, and I think like they're just so addictive. Like I was thinking recently, like technology is like has the pace that has increased so much in the past 30 years is phenomenal, but like our brains haven't really changed. So I'm like, how are we equipped? How are we supposed to manage addiction? And it's just such a draw, such a dopamine hit. So Like, I think it has to be a conscious choice, and, like, I that's how it has to be for me. I have to make a conscious choice to turn off the Wi-Fi, turn off the data in the evening, and try and leave it off till at least after breakfast, and you're kinda like, "Oh god, I didn't actually miss much." Like, if something's urgent, someone will probably call me, but I think it takes discipline because I just think, yeah, they're made to be addictive, all of these apps. Um, like, the levels of anxiety and stress has just gone through the roof. Like, if we can just step out and get into nature and ground ourselves, we just feel better. I think it's just intuitive in us.
Yeah, that's interesting because there's been that theme has come up a few times with some other guests we've had as well, and I think this is a spot. You're right. Our brains are not wired for this level of connection. And we are still omnivores that are supposed to be out there in the fields, grunting and groaning and then pulling the weeds, right, and kind of eating them. And yeah, people just don't remember that, and I think we will find the detriment of that sooner than we realize. There's generations coming who won't have skills because they spend so much time on their phones, right? I mean, I see it these days, even in social media, where people post questions that you kind of go, wow, you could have looked that up in the same effort it took you to type it here. You could have gone somewhere and found that data instead of waiting for someone else to kind of walk you through it, right? It's that whole belief that, your time is different than that. So if someone wanted to, let's just talk about what would be your suggestions for someone's first time to Ireland? How would you tell them to approach Ireland?
It depends obviously what they're into, but one suggestion I would definitely make is try not to see everything. Like, if you're coming for a week or two and you're saying, I'm going to see a whistle stop tour and see everything, well, that means you're going to be in a vehicle for 70% of that time and you're hopping out and getting a photo and hopping back in. So I would pick two or three areas. Like, so you've Dublin on the east coast, then you've the hidden heartlands in the middle where I'm from, which is quieter, more low key, more chilled out. And then the west coast is the Wild Atlantic Way, which you've probably heard of. You've Galway, Dingle, Achill Island, Mayo, Sligo, Donegal, Cork, lots of other places. Killarney, you've probably heard of, which is busier, buzzing, you're by the ocean. So I would probably pick two or three areas. Like, there's some lovely hikes in the Midlands and the Wild Atlantic Way or down the south. So depending what your interest, I like, there's some lovely small towns where there's fabulous restaurants. Like, I love Westport. Galway's buzzing. Galway's like 2.5 hours from Dublin. You can get a train or drive. We drive on the other side of the road as you guys, and it's like 80,000 people. They call Galway sometimes the graveyard of ambition because people love living there. There's lots of great music, lots of great restaurants. So people are like offered more money to go to Dublin. They're like, no, no, I'll stay here. I'll stay in Galway. But it's actually, a huge compliment to the city because it has great music, great food, it's by the coast, but it's not too big. It's manageable. So I'd probably just pick a few areas depending on your interest. Dingle's a good spot as well. Have you heard of Dingle? It's quite popular. It's a small fishing village in County Kerry. So it has a population of 2,000, but it actually gets about 1 million visitors annually. It's hugely popular for tourism. It was very famous for a dolphin called Fungi. He used to come into the bay every day, but since 2020, it looks like he's gone to fairer pastures, they say. But he kind of put Dingle on the map, and now it's very famous on the tour trail. High quality restaurants and great music and Irish dancing, and it's in the Gaeltacht area. So about 8% of Ireland is native Irish speaking. So there's designated Gaeltacht areas where Irish, what you might call Gaelic, we just call Irish. It's a completely different language, is spoken. My first language is English, but every Irish person learns Irish in school from the age of 5 to 17. It's compulsory. And all the signposts in the Republic of Ireland are in Irish and in English because they're both the national languages of the country.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I loved I thought Ireland was phenomenal. That was beautiful. Dublin is very vibrant and fun. Like you said, there's a lot going on. I told Jim a story. I went to I can't remember the name of the pub. It's a famous pub. You would know it. It's right. Everybody knows it. It's in Dublin, but it's a big one. But we went and we were having lunch, and there were like these three businessmen in three-piece suits sitting at the next table, and each had two or three Guinness each, and then went back to work. And I thought, this is the kind of place I could live. That's frowned on in the U.S., but yeah, I would.
It's kind of
Yeah,
here too,
I said okay. Well, they seemed like they knew what they were doing.
maybe.
No, and Belfast is wonderful and gorgeous. Cork's like a like a storybook. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and
We
it's
just need to
interesting with
get there.
sorry, yeah, no, just with Belfast, Northern Ireland, and then the Republic of Ireland. So we're actually like Belfast, Northern Ireland is actually not in the EU, and we're in the EU. So you've Euro in the Republic, Sterling in the North.
Sorry.
No, it's just to explain. Like I do tours up in Belfast and Derry and in Northern Ireland. Like it's fabulous. It's just interesting for people sometimes to realize they maybe need two different currencies here. If you go to Germany, you're using euro, and the Republic, you're using euro. If you go to Northern Ireland, you're using sterling, like in the UK. So it's important because thankfully there's an open border in Ireland. So you're driving on the roads and you maybe notice the signposts are a bit different, but it's good that people, are aware of the geography and the history and everything.
Would you suggest if someone comes to Ireland for the first time, they should hook up with you and get themselves on like a hiking tour? Do you think that's a good way to start?
Like if they want to do, so we do bespoke private hiking tours, kind of walking and wellness tours. So what is included is your accommodation. You can go either 3, 4, or 5 star, like so that's bed and breakfast. A private guide, a private driver and guide. So you're doing hikes every way. So it's private groups. Obviously it's going to be pricier than if you want to go independently and rent a car. A lot of people from the US don't want to drive over here. That can be a big thing. So that's why private chauffeurs is really popular. So it depends what you're looking for. But what we include is a tailor-made itinerary for your group with light hikes, but a bit of flexibility so that you can add in things like a surf lesson or a sauna or like a soda break making class or something, or the pub. Yeah, yeah. Keep that bit of flexibility because I think, the experience is so important that you actually meet locals and get to know the place a little bit and have some flexibility so that you're not kind of exhausted with a super busy itineraries. It's finding that balance with getting outdoors, doing some hikes, having some direction, making sure someone else is organizing the flow, but actually getting to pick and choose a little bit every day too is important. So just
You're talking about surfing. Where do you surf in Ireland?
all along the West Coast. Yeah, like I'm a surf instructor here. I sometimes freelance instruct, but I absolutely love it. So you could Sligo, Donegal. Like Ireland is actually one of the biggest surf destinations in the world. You get big wave
I had no
surfers
idea.
flying here during the winter time when there's really big swells. Obviously, you need a good wetsuit, but because the wetsuits have gotten so good in the last number of years, like you're not cold. You just have good gear. Sligo's huge, Donegal, Clare, Lahinch, you can surf basically all along the west coast. Mayo, Achill Island, Kerry, Cork.
Full disclosure, I'm not a surfer, but I had no idea that there was surfing in Ireland.
Neither.
I thought you were joking. So I was like, oh, okay. So wow, that's great that it's a destination. So there you go, surf fans.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, Ruth, as you know, Chuck and I are both have our travel franchise, right? So if we have some crazy Americans that said to us, hey, I want to go check out Ireland, but we want to do it differently, is that something that we personally can work with you as travel agents as well and resell your service to them?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Feel free to give me a shout.
Okay, great. Because I think we do get folks who occasionally say to us, hey, I want to go do something different, right? And I think this is one of the things I love exploring as we've done this podcast is finding out these alternative ways of traveling that bring different experiences than what the mainstream is selling you, right? So what I think I have a lot of folks who like adventure travel, which is part of why I chose my name. Also, I think adventure travel is just a whole different way of looking at life, right? Going out and seeing things from a different view. And I would love to send some folks over for some great adventures with you to do things around Ireland where they could see more of the beauty from the perspective of a local and someone who's out of the mainstream city.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I don't guide all the tours now myself as I'm getting
Sure.
busier. I work with a ton of great freelance hiking guides and mountain leaders, depending on the level of tour. It goes, from gentle hikes up until more challenging hikes. So it really depends. But like to me, like I think it's so important that people come and enjoy their vacation and they're not under pressure. And that's what I've seen sometimes when people feel like they have to tick everything off and do a lot and they've a super busy itinerary. And I think it's more about the experience and trying to disconnect a bit in order to ground yourself and be present and maybe get to know some people. So I always recommend trying to take at least 2 nights per place if you're moving around because if you're going into it somewhere one night, you're arriving in the evening and you're leaving the next morning and you're not really getting to experience the place so much. And sometimes maybe people just want a super busy itinerary. That's not really what I'm selling. There are companies there who do that. So I think, it's like I enjoy chatting to guests and customers and figuring out what they're actually looking for and whether or not it's in alignment or not. Because I think a lot of times people do want to de-stress, but they don't maybe know, like it's hard for them to put their finger on it because, you're just too busy in your own life. Like a lot of people, like they're just trying to keep their head above water, and they kind of need to, take that time in order to ground themselves. So to give themselves that time and space to, you know,
It's one of those things I always say. It's the difference between coming home rested, like you actually had time to relax and rest, versus coming home and needing a vacation for your vacation, right?
yeah, exactly.
Americans tend to want to book things up like crazy busy.
I know.
And how many times I put people on vacation, they're like, but I need to. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't need to go to every excursion. You don't need to go somewhere every day. Take a day to sit in your room. Just enjoy yourself. And that's how I travel. I mean, I don't like to, if it gets too busy, I tend to shut down because it just doesn't give me a chance to relax. And I think that's where these outdoor opportunities do let you still go do something, but also take you out of your busy life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes as people need to be conditioned from work mode, and they're like in work mode, it's got to be busy, got to have a schedule. And I notice that sometimes the first day or two, you got to kind of let people know they can relax. They don't need to be constantly looking at the watch. Things are sorted, things are planned. And it can take a couple of days for people to build that trust and know, okay, I don't need to handle this because maybe they're used to having to handle all of these things in their own lives. So it's kind of trying to give people that space where they can actually take a breath. But I do understand and empathize when people are like, I got to pack all this in because to me, it's still, they're putting a little bit of pressure on themselves. And you want to try and say, give yourself a break. Maybe can you, yeah, take it a bit easier and maybe you'll enjoy it a bit more. But, I suppose it's so unique. I understand some people maybe want a lot of adrenaline hits and want something super busy. And you know, that's their call, obviously.
Right. And a lot of people, I think, want to see it all and don't realize that when you're seeing it all, you're not really seeing much. I mean, you're
Yeah.
you're doing it so quickly. You're like, well, because when I went to Ireland, I did a 12-day, like I said, I did a 12-day cruise around the British Isles, and it was wonderful. We went to England, Scotland, Guernsey, Britain, and all that. But I called it the appetizer cruise because we got just enough time in each place to know where I want to go back to. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, like Jim said, I fell in love with Scotland. I wanna go back to Scotland, but I loved all the other places too. But yeah, I wasn't in one place long enough. You're right. It was like such a snapshot that it was like, oh, I wish I you get home and you're like, oh, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. Yeah. So it's almost smart to take, a week, 3 years in a row or something and go to different pieces of a country and see it if you're
Yeah,
able.
and I suppose that sounds like you did get an appetizer, and maybe that sounded like it worked really well for that, and it can depend on what you're looking for at the time. Like, I met a Canadian tour guide on Clare Island, which is a small island off the coast of Mayo in Ireland, and he and his wife were just spending a month there, just spending a month on Clare Island, not leaving the island. And he'd guided so much for years, he just wanted that peace, and all the locals knew them. And I was just struck by that. I thought that's kind of cool that you've experienced the other side of it, and he wasn't really going. I don't think they'd been to Ireland before, but they weren't actually going to travel around. And I was like, they really are getting that break, and they're getting to experience local life in a low key community, and that's pretty cool.
I always try to emphasize to all my clients that, a week vacation is never enough. You barely get disconnected before you're reconnecting again, right? So I think if you don't take a couple weeks away, you haven't given yourself the time to get off the clock and sort of get on vacation mode, right?
Well,
And the longer you go, the better.
say,
Yeah.
especially if you're going like overseas or something, you're spending 2 full days of travel.
Right. And a couple days of
Right
jet
back.
lag. And yeah,
So now you're not at 7 days, you're at 5, and then if you count jet lag, you're kinda at 4.5, and all that
good
kind
luck.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So yeah, I think it's great that I think that's the only way to get to know a place. So that's why I say I've gone to London so many times was I kept finding new places I wanted to go back and explore. That's what kept taking me back there. So
Yeah.
rather than ticking another box of another country, I wanted to see more of London and what was there because there's so much to see. And that's like anywhere. Right? You can't come to the US and just go to Dallas and say, I saw the US, because you didn't see the US. You saw Dallas.
But
Well,
then
in the
if you
US
love London, sorry, yeah.
No, go ahead, please.
No, just if you love London, why not return? I think we can again put pressure on ourselves to see everything and do everything. I've gone to places where I've returned for a few years to the same place because I just loved it, so
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever works, I suppose. But it is trying to take that actual mental space where you can actually unwind in some way. I just think that's so important. And I think it's becoming rarer. So I think we have to consciously make that decision and say, okay, no work calls, very limited Wi-Fi, and trying to just have those switch off moments because we just don't get the opportunity every day to do that. And it's just such a draw. So when we have to consciously step out and make those choices, you just feel better, I think.
Yep. So, folks, if you're joining us midway through this is Life in the Baggage Claim. We're here with our guest, Ruth O'Meara, who's has a travel company that does sort of wellness and outdoor traveling throughout Ireland. If you haven't caught her accent, she is definitely Irish. And we're talking through sort of what she does and a little bit of the ways to live life and enjoy your vacations off the clock and off online and things like that. And it's been real fun having you here, Ruth, talking about this stuff today. We ask you just, of course, everybody, if you're watching, make sure you're liking and subscribing and sharing this episode. Ruth does have a website. It's leafygreentiors.com that talks a little bit about what she does and what her offerings are that you should check out. We'll make sure that's in the episode notes for you as well. So, Ruth, any final closing questions for us?
Well, where's your next vacation? Where are you going to next, or what are the next vacation plans?
Well, in about a month, I'm going to be on Brilliant Lady for 12 nights.
Where's
One more cruise this year. So out of Miami, going to Colombia and some
nice?
of the Curacao and the Caymans and such.
Wow, fabulous.
And in 46 days, I'll be on the same boat, slightly different itinerary.
Okay, yeah, cool.
So I have clients getting on the week before me. They get off, I get on. I get off, Chuck gets on.
So you won't see each other on the boat? No.
Now,
Okay,
although we are trying to put a cruise together for next year, we're going to do the first official Life in a Baggage cruise. If you want to
cool.
come over and join us, please do.
Yeah, yeah, sounds fun. Yeah. Can you surf though? Are you going to surf locations?
Oh, yeah, you can surf at some of these places. I mean, it depends on it's in the Caribbean. You're not going to get a lot of great surfing. Let's be honest. There's not enough unless there's a storm brewing somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
There's not enough, especially on the westward side. You're not going to get a lot of waves. On the east side, where you get up close to the Atlantic, you might get some, but it's not a big.
So, Ruth,
You
I'm going to make you sad. I lived in Hawaii for 2 years and never tried surfing. So,
Oh, yeah. Gosh, I'd love to go. Yeah, well, if it's not your thing, but yeah, gosh, yeah.
I feel bad about that.
I'm sure you had other fun things to do in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah. Well, my wife and I are both snorkel fanatics, so we would snorkel 5, 6 days a week. So, yeah, that was our thing. Yeah.
Sharks don't like cold water, so we've no sharks really to worry about in Ireland. You see the odd basking shark, but they only eat plankton. So if you see a fin in the water, it's usually big animals, usually a basking shark.
My wife would consider that then because she has a thing about sharks, so she would consider surfing in Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you just gotta watch out sometimes for jellyfish, but you can wear boots, so it's all good.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thank you, Ruth, for joining us here today. Chuck, did you have any closing words for today?
No, Ruth, thank you so much. It's been wonderful. I loved it. I've forgotten how much I enjoy the Irish accent. I did enjoy it very much when I was over there. But yeah, no, thank you. That's fantastic. And my wife and I are both big time backpackers and hikers. So you've got my interest peaked. I would love to go back to Ireland and take a hike. That sounds like a phenomenal thing to do.
Cool. Well, you're both very welcome, and it was great chatting to you both and hearing what you're up to. It's interesting to see, and it's great to see other kind of small businesses growing and thriving in different parts of the world.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And hopefully, Ruth will find time in the future to bring you back again and talk about what's going on new in your life and what's going on with us. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Life in the Baggage Claim. We are always thankful that you're here. We appreciate our small but growing audience. I know what you give us. If you have thoughts or ideas you want to share, please put them in the comments below. We really encourage you to do that. Our episodes are getting a little more traction when people actually start talking. So we'd love to have what your thoughts are. You're welcome to share any thoughts around Ruth's business and what she does. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Thanks, everybody, and have a great week.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks. Great chatting to you both.